Okay, so we're doing something a little different this time, diving into the world of English learning, always fun. We're unpacking this YouTube English lesson, and get this, it takes us on like a total detour into like house hunting in the US.
It's fascinating though, right? It really shows how language learning skills can equip you for like some of life's biggest moments. We always think about the grammar rules and vocab, but this video really shows how fluency can help you in real life situations, like even navigating a totally different housing market.
Totally. This video is called Learn English with Podcast Conversation, episode 14.
Yeah.
And right away, they jump into this super relatable thing, like how English opens up opportunities globally. One of the speakers even talked about earning in dollars because of their English skill.
Oh, yeah. It's a powerful reminder for sure. It's not just about communication, but access, right? Access to different experiences, cultures, and even new ways to earn an income.
Right. Makes you think about how learning English could open up possibilities you haven't even considered. They also talk about that pain point I think we've all felt at some point, how traditional schooling doesn't always translate to being fluent, you know, like in real life.
Absolutely. Yeah. The speaker suggested immersion, basically surrounding yourself with English, like, I don't know, the news, podcasts, maybe even this deep dive.
Yeah, we fully endorse that, right? They also mentioned a technique called shadowing, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, it's a form of active listening where you basically like become a vocal shadow of a native speaker, listen and repeat, trains your ear and pronunciation at the same time, like a workout for your language
Local
skills.
workout. I like that. So we've got these really practical English learning tips, and then the conversation takes this kind of unexpected turn. One of the speakers talks about how they just bought their first house, and they break down the whole thing.
And that's where those language skills come in, right? Imagine navigating all of that in another language. They talk about renting in the US, the application process, even finding their dream home while they were still renting.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's impressive. They get into the details of buying a house in the U.S., and honestly, it sounds intense. They mentioned down payments, apparently. You
Hmm.
need a bunch of money up front.
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting, especially for someone new to the US system. Imagine needing like 20% of the house price in cash up front. That could be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, no wonder they said houses can cost anywhere from like $150,000 to millions. And this is where I was like, whoa, I'm kind of glad I'm not house hunting in the U.S. They start talking about real estate agents, or realtors, as they call them. It's a whole other thing to deal with.
Yeah, realtors are essential over here. Think of them as like expert guides, right? They help you navigate the whole crazy process of buying or selling a home. The speaker even said that almost every house purchase in the US involves a realtor.
It's crazy how much we're learning about U.S. real estate from an English learning video, right?
Right.
And the realtor they were talking about sounds like a total go-getter, making up to 10 calls a day.
And that kind of dedication makes sense. We're talking about a huge financial decision. Buying a home is often the biggest investment someone makes in their life, so it makes sense to have someone in your corner, to handle the paperwork, negotiations, all the little things. Could be invaluable.
For sure, especially when you're dealing with a market as fast-paced and overwhelming as the U.S., right? So they found their dream place, have this super realtor, and then comes the really fun part moving day. And remember how we were saying their realtor was such a go-getter? Well, it all leads up to this moving day. But as they found out, even with a realtor, moving day has its own adventures.
Yeah, moving is like exhilarating and exhausting all at the same time, right? It's like this
Yeah.
universal thing, but always with its own challenges, maybe even some funny moments too.
Oh, totally. Like they were talking about the whole packing thing and then trying to move all the heavy furniture. I mean, who hasn't been there? And they end up deciding to just hire movers.
Which, honestly, smart move. It just shows how important it is to have those practical English skills,
Yeah.
right? Can you imagine having to coordinate all of that in another language? It just adds this whole other level of like complexity to the whole thing.
Oh, for sure. And it's so easy to like romanticize moving into a new home,
Hmm.
right? But then the reality hits and you're dealing with the heavy lifting and logistical headaches and probably some funny mishaps along the way. Like remember they mentioned the moving truck being too big?
Yeah. It's like no matter how carefully you plan, there's always that element of the unexpected. It's kind of a good reminder that moving is moving no matter where you are. There are always going to be those little hiccups that make you laugh later on.
Definitely. Oh, and they mentioned they were pregnant at the time, which just adds another level of fun to the whole moving situation.
Right. Life doesn't exactly pause, even for the big exciting things. It's like sometimes asking for help, like they did with the movers, is the smartest and most practical thing you can do.
Absolutely. You got to know your limits. But even with movers, they still ran into those city living problems, like finding parking for that huge truck. Turns out the movers had to park blocks away and just like carry everything.
Oh man, that's brutal. Really gives you a sense of the behind the scenes realities of living in a city, you know? We often focus on all the excitement of a city, but there are definitely logistical challenges that come with that.
Speaking of challenges, let's go back to the financial side of buying a house in the U.S. for a minute, because I don't think we talked about what a down payment actually is. And they made it sound really important.
Oh, it's essential. A down payment is basically a chunk of the total house price that you pay up front, right? It's like you're proving you're serious about buying the place. The speaker said it's usually around 20% in the US, which is, well, that's a lot of money.
20%. So on a $200,000 house, that's like a $40,000 down payment. Wow. Suddenly saving up for a house feels less like a sprint and more like a marathon,
Right.
you know?
Right. It's no wonder that more and more people are buying homes later in life. And the bigger that down payment, the smaller the loan you'll need, which also means you'll have lower monthly mortgage payments.
Hold on. Mortgage.
Yeah.
Maybe we should explain what that is, just in case anyone listening isn't totally up to speed on, real estate lingo.
Oh, right, of course. So a mortgage is basically a special kind of loan that you get to buy a property, right? It's like a supersized loan that you pay back over a long period of time, usually like 15 or 30 years. And that's where the monthly payments get interesting. Well, because a smaller down payment means those monthly payments are going to be higher and vice versa.
So it's like this delicate balancing act. You need to have enough saved up for the down payment, but you also need to make sure you can actually afford to make those monthly payments. It's definitely not as simple as just picking a house you like and boom, you moved in.
Not at all. This is where having a solid financial plan is key. You have to look at your income, your monthly expenses, and your overall financial goals.
Makes you really appreciate having someone like a realtor to help you through all of that, huh? Because it's not just about finding the right place, it's about finding the right place that also works with your whole financial picture.
Exactly. A good realtor can connect you with lenders, explain all the terms and conditions, and even negotiate for better rates. Having that expertise can really make sure you're not taking on more than you can handle financially.
It really makes that 98% statistic we talked about earlier makes so much sense. Like using a realtor in the US seems like buying a house is less of a solo mission and more like, I don't know, a team effort.
Totally. Especially with something as complex and, let's be real, as expensive as buying a house. But even with the best realtor in the world, there are still those moving day realities to deal with. Remember how they said the movers were struggling with the stairs?
It's like you finally get the place,
Yeah.
but then you gotta actually get in, right? Did they say what floor they were on?
Second floor, I think. Which maybe doesn't sound too bad, but imagine those movers trying to get a couch up a narrow staircase. Easy to forget about those things when you're caught up in the excitement of a new home.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Makes you realize those real estate photos don't show the whole picture, right?
Yeah.
Like, I love how they were even joking about the whole moving day being a total circus.
Right. I think that's what makes this whole video so relatable. It's not just, hey, learn English or here's how to buy a house. It's more about the experience everyone shares, the good, the crazy, even the funny stuff that happens when you move.
Totally. And I like that they don't pretend it's always glamorous. Just makes it feel more real.
Totally. It's like a good reminder that life, no matter what language you're speaking, has these little messy parts. And sometimes those parts make the best stories.
This has been quite a deep dive. We started with English learning and somehow ended up talking about U.S. real estate and the realities of moving day.
It really is fascinating how a simple conversation about language can open up all these other topics, right? We got those cultural insights about buying a house in the US, personal stories about overcoming challenges, even some practical tips about finding an apartment or, even just hiring movers.
Makes you wonder what other stuff is hidden in our everyday conversations, right?
Yeah.
Like what seems like small talk, maybe about the weather or something, could actually be full of these cultural insights, or personal reflections.
Yeah, for sure. It's all about being present in the moment, being curious, and being open to those unexpected connections that come up, even in the most ordinary situations.
So if our listener could take away one thing from this whole deep dive, what would it be? What should they think about as they go about their day? Hopefully with a new appreciation for language.
I'd say this. Learning a language is so much more than just memorizing words. It's about connecting with the world, but in a deeper way, a more meaningful way. It's about giving yourself the tools to have new experiences, build relationships with people from different cultures, maybe even just share a laugh about the universal chaos of moving.
I love that. It's like that saying, with a new language, you get a new soul. Who knows what kind of adventures are waiting for you when you can really communicate, when you can connect with the world.
So true. And on that note, I guess we've reached the end of our deep dive. Until next time, everyone, happy learning.